A 6-year-old beggar boy saved a billionaire's life while sitting in the car. The billionaire was shocked by this scene. He approached the beggar boy when the boy told him his story. The billionaire was stunned and rushed to the police station. What comes next will shock you. Ryan stared out of the floor-to-ceiling windows of his luxurious penthouse in Seattle, Washington, watching the sun dip below the skyline. The city was alive with lights and sounds, yet he felt a deep emptiness inside. At 42, Ryan had built a successful tech company from the ground up, yet his personal life was lacking. Despite the accolades and wealth, the loneliness crept in when he thought about sharing his life with someone special. His mind drifted back to the failed relationships that haunted him. Too many women had shown interest only in his money, looking at him like a bank instead of a partner. He longed for a modest, loving woman, someone who would appreciate him for who he was, not for what he owned. As he prepared for another late night at the office, Ryan's phone buzzed. It was Mark, his business partner. "Hey, Ryan, I have some great news. We landed that big contract we were hoping for," Mark said, excitement evident in his voice. "That's fantastic, Mark. I knew we could do it," Ryan replied, forcing a smile despite his internal turmoil. Mark was well-connected and had a wealth of experience that complemented Ryan's skills perfectly. Their partnership had propelled the company to new heights, allowing Ryan to delegate tasks and gain a little more free time to think about his future. "Let's celebrate tonight. Dinner at that new steakhouse?" Mark suggested. "Sure. I could use a break," Ryan answered, trying to sound enthusiastic. As he hung up, Ryan looked around his penthouse filled with expensive furniture and gadgets. It was all a little too empty without someone to share it with. He missed the feeling of having someone to come home to, someone who would laugh at his jokes and share quiet evenings on the couch. The scene shifted to Ryan's past. In a quaint town near the Appalachian Mountains, he had been in love with Emma, a bright and ambitious young woman. They were in their late 20s then, living in a small apartment filled with dreams. Emma had recently graduated from college and was eager to start her career, while Ryan was trying to establish himself. "Do you think we'll ever make it out of this town?" Emma asked one evening as they walked hand in hand along the riverbank. "Of course. Once I get my business off the ground, we'll move anywhere you want," Ryan promised, squeezing her hand. But despite his optimism, the reality of their situation was challenging. Job opportunities in their town were scarce, and the weight of uncertainty loomed over them. Emma lived with her grandfather, Mr. Harrison, a protective man in his late 70s. He was wary of Ryan because of his troubled past, which included a few legal issues from his youth. Although Ryan had turned his life around, Mr. Harrison couldn't shake his suspicions. "Emma, you need to be careful with that boy. He's not the one you think he is," Mr. Harrison warned during dinner one night. "But Grandpa, he loves me, and he's changed," Emma replied, her voice tinged with frustration. "I just want what's best for you," Mr. Harrison insisted. "You're too young to get involved with someone like him." The tension was palpable, but Emma remained determined to prove her grandfather wrong. Her love for Ryan was strong, and she was sure he would succeed. One fateful summer evening, Ryan and Emma set out for a walk along the river. The air was warm, and fireflies danced around them, creating a magical atmosphere. They laughed and talked about their future, filled with hopes and dreams. Suddenly, without warning, the ground began to tremble. Ryan and Emma looked at each other, fear in their eyes. Before they could react, a landslide crashed down the hill, sending mud and debris cascading toward them. "Run!" Ryan shouted, grabbing Emma's hand. They sprinted, but the rushing mud was too fast. The couple was swept away, the world around them dissolving into chaos. Ryan awoke later, disoriented and in pain. His leg throbbed, and he struggled to comprehend what had happened. The memories of the landslide flooded back, and he frantically searched for Emma. "Emma!" he yelled, but his voice was weak. Panic set in as he tried to move but felt the weight of his injury. Meanwhile, Mr. Harrison had found Emma, who was injured but alive. He helped her up, wrapping her in his arms as they made their way to safety. "Ryan! Where's Ryan?" Emma cried, her eyes wide with fear. "Let's get you out of here first, dear," Mr. Harrison said, his voice shaky. He wanted to protect her, but deep down he feared the worst. In a cruel twist of fate, Mr. Harrison deceived both of them. He told Emma that Ryan had died, hoping to shield her from the man he distrusted. At the same time, he informed Ryan that Emma had not survived, convincing him it was best for her to move on without him. Devastated, Ryan left the small town, burying his sorrow in work in Seattle. Meanwhile, Emma, heartbroken and alone, discovered she was pregnant. She gave birth to a son, Ethan, and moved to Los Angeles, where she faced numerous struggles, including financial instability and low-paying jobs. But through it all, Emma remained resilient, determined to provide for Ethan, despite the overwhelming challenges ahead. Little did Ryan know that fate had other plans for them both. Emma stood at the window of her small apartment in Los Angeles, gazing out at the bustling city below. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden hue over the skyscrapers, but her heart felt heavy. After the devastating landslide and the loss of Ryan, her life had taken a different direction, one filled with challenges that seemed insurmountable. Ethan, now 6 years old, was playing with his toys on the floor, his laughter bringing a flicker of joy to her heart. Despite the difficulties, Emma had devoted herself to being a good mother. She worked multiple low-paying jobs, juggling her responsibilities while trying to give Ethan a semblance of a normal life. "Mommy, can we go to the park today?" Ethan asked, looking up at her with hopeful eyes. Emma smiled, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Maybe tomorrow, sweetheart. We need to save some money for food first." Ethan nodded, understanding more than his age suggested. Emma felt a pang of guilt for not being able to give him everything he wanted. Life in Los Angeles was expensive, and her earnings barely covered rent, groceries, and Ethan's medical bills. He had been diagnosed with asthma, requiring regular doctor visits and medication that strained their already tight budget. One day, while at a local community center, Emma met a kind older woman named Clara. Clara was warm and inviting, with a twinkle in her eye that made Emma feel at ease. "Hello, dear. You look like you could use some help," Clara said, noticing Emma's weary expression. "I'm just trying to get by," Emma admitted, feeling a little vulnerable. "I have a son, and things have been tough." Clara's face softened. "I can help you find a place to stay, a safe environment for you and your boy. It's hard out there alone." Emma's heart leaped at the offer. "Really? That would be amazing." However, as the days went by, Emma's excitement turned to caution. Clara seemed too good to be true. After several meetings, Emma hesitated, unsure whether to trust the stranger who was offering her a way out of her struggles. Eventually, Clara convinced Emma to meet her at a bank to help secure a loan for a small apartment. In her moment of desperation, Emma agreed. They walked to the bank, and Clara guided her through the process. However, when it came time to make the transfer, Emma noticed something odd. Clara was quick and evasive, her demeanor shifting. Before Emma realized it, Clara had taken her savings and vanished, leaving Emma with nothing. The reality of the betrayal hit Emma hard. Tears streamed down her face as she sat on the sidewalk, feeling lost and alone. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Ethan's small voice cut through her despair. "Oh, baby, I'm okay," Emma said, forcing a smile. But inside, she felt like she was drowning. With no savings and nowhere to go, she needed help. As if fate had answered her prayers, an elderly man named Frank, who lived nearby, noticed her distress. He approached cautiously, his kind eyes filled with concern. "Miss, are you all right? You look like you could use a friend," Frank said gently. Emma wiped her tears and looked up at him. "I lost everything. I have nowhere to go." Frank's heart ached for her. "Why don't you and your son come stay at my cabin in the country? It's not much, but it's safe." Emma hesitated. "I don't want to impose." "Nonsense. You're not imposing. I can't just stand by and let you struggle," he insisted. With no other options, Emma accepted. They drove to Frank's old cabin, a small, run-down structure surrounded by trees and a beautiful view of the mountains. It wasn't ideal, but it offered shelter. Here it is, Frank said, opening the door. Make yourselves at home. There's a small kitchen, and I have some food in the fridge. Thank you so much, Frank. I don't know what we would have done without your help, Emma replied, her voice filled with gratitude. As they settled in, Emma tried to make the best of their new life. She picked up odd jobs around the area, doing everything from cleaning houses to working in a local diner. Ethan, eager to help, began playing his harmonica in the park, hoping to collect spare change to contribute to their small family. One afternoon, as Ethan played a cheerful tune, Emma watched him, her heart swelling with pride. He was so talented, so full of life. Yet, as the days turned into weeks, the weight of their struggles bore down on her. Little did they know that destiny was about to intervene in a way neither of them could have predicted. While Ethan played, he overheard two men discussing something that would change everything. The men were plotting against someone named Ryan, and Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that the name sounded familiar. Who's Ryan? He wondered, clutching his harmonica. As he listened, a sense of urgency surged through him. Ethan felt a strange connection to this man, compelling him to find out more. The day was coming when he would make a choice that would alter the course of their lives forever. Ethan sat on the park bench, his small hands gripping the harmonica tightly. He had been playing for hours, hoping to collect some spare change to help his mother. The warm sun bathed the park in golden light, and the sounds of laughter and chatter filled the air. However, his thoughts drifted to the two men he had overheard earlier. The men had been sitting on a nearby bench, their voices low but intense. Ethan had caught snippets of their conversation, his curiosity piqued. They were discussing a plan to harm someone named Ryan, mentioning something about an explosive device hidden in a car. The gravity of their words weighed heavily on Ethan, making his heart race. He needed to warn this Ryan, whoever he was. "Mom!" Ethan called out, spotting Emma across the park. She was chatting with a woman who had just stopped by to ask about Ethan's harmonica playing. Emma looked up, smiling at her son's excitement. "Ethan, sweetie, come over here." She waved, her face lighting up. "Mom, I heard something important," Ethan said, urgency in his voice as he reached her. "Slow down, honey. What is it?" Emma knelt down, noticing the seriousness in his expression. "There are two men. They were talking about Ryan. They said they were going to hurt him. They have a bomb under his car," Ethan explained, his eyes wide with fear. Emma's heart sank. "Ryan? Are you sure that's what they said?" "Yes, I heard them. We have to help him," Ethan insisted, looking around nervously, as if the men might appear again. Emma paused, trying to process the information. Ryan had been a significant part of her life, and despite everything that had happened, she still cared for him deeply. She had to act quickly. "Okay, Ethan, let's find out where this Ryan is. Maybe we can warn him," she said, her voice steady despite the fear bubbling inside her. They hurried home, and Emma quickly searched for Ryan's contact information on her old phone. After some searching, she found an old message from Ryan with his number. With a shaky hand, she dialed. "Come on, pick up," she murmured, tapping her foot anxiously. Finally, Ryan answered, his voice sounding tired yet familiar. "Hello, Ryan. It's Emma," she said, her heart racing. "I need to talk to you. It's urgent." "Emma? Is everything okay?" Ryan asked, concern creeping into his voice. "No, it's not. I overheard two men talking about you. They said they plan to hurt you, and they have a bomb under your car," she explained, each word tumbling out in a rush. There was a moment of silence on the other end. "A bomb? Under my car?" Ryan repeated incredulously. "Yes, you have to be careful. Please, just check your car," Emma urged, feeling a mix of panic and urgency. "Okay, I'll look into it. Thank you for warning me, Emma," Ryan replied, his voice steady. "Please be safe," she added, her heart heavy with worry. As the call ended, Emma turned to Ethan, who looked up at her with wide eyes. "Did he believe you?" he asked. "I hope so. He needs to be careful," Emma said, her heart racing. She wanted to believe that Ryan would take her warning seriously. Meanwhile, Ryan hung up the phone, a rush of adrenaline coursing through him. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. The world outside his penthouse felt suddenly dangerous and dark. "I have to check my car," he muttered to himself, heading down to the parking garage. As he walked through the dimly lit garage, unease settled in the pit of his stomach. What if Emma was right? He reached his car, his heart pounding in his chest. Just as he approached, he spotted two men lurking near his vehicle, their demeanor suspicious. Panic surged through him as he realized he had to act quickly. Ryan pulled out his phone, ready to call the police, when one of the men turned around, revealing a menacing smile. Ryan's heart raced as he took a step back, realizing the danger he was in. "Hey, buddy, need a lift?" the man taunted as he approached. Ryan's instincts kicked in. He needed to escape. The moment of truth had come. Would he get out in time? Or had Emma's warning come too late? The suspense hung heavy in the air as he turned to run, adrenaline fueling his every step. Ryan sprinted through the parking garage, his heart pounding in his chest. The two men, now fully aware of his presence, shouted after him, their voices echoing ominously against the concrete walls. "Stop! You can't run from us!" one of them yelled. Ryan didn't look back. He raced for the nearest exit, desperate to get to safety. As he burst through the door and into the alley, he pulled out his phone to call the police. Come on, he muttered, fumbling with the buttons as he dialed. Just as the call connected, he heard footsteps behind him, heavy and purposeful. "Where do you think you're going?" one of the men shouted, appearing in the doorway. Ryan quickly ducked behind a dumpster, heart racing. "Stay calm. Stay focused," he whispered to himself, trying to think. He knew he couldn't stay here much longer. He had to find a way to get help. As he crouched, he overheard their conversation. "We can't let him escape. The boss wants this done tonight," one of them growled. Panic surged through Ryan. He had to get out of here and warn Emma about the danger. Taking a deep breath, he peered around the dumpster. The alley was deserted, but he could hear the faint sounds of the street beyond. With a burst of adrenaline, Ryan bolted down the alley, sprinting towards the street. Just as he reached the corner, he spotted a police car pulling up. Relief flooded through him. "Over here!" Ryan shouted, waving his arms frantically. The officers jumped out, guns drawn. "What's going on?" one officer barked. "Two men. They're after me. They have a bomb under my car," Ryan explained, breathless. "Stay behind us," the officer ordered, moving toward the entrance of the alley. "Wait, I need to warn someone," Ryan said, realizing he hadn't told Emma the full extent of the danger. "Who?" the officer asked, looking back at him. "My ex-fiancée, Emma. She has a son. He might be in danger too." Without wasting any time, the officers directed Ryan to a patrol car. "We'll send someone to check on her. You stay here with us for now." Ryan nodded, anxious but grateful that the police were taking action. As he stood by the patrol car, he couldn't shake the feeling of dread for Emma and Ethan. Meanwhile, back at Frank's cabin, Emma was pacing the small living room, her heart racing with worry. Ethan was playing quietly in the corner, unaware of the tension that filled the room. "Mom, do you think he's okay?" Ethan asked, glancing up at her. "I hope so, honey. I just hope he took our warning seriously," Emma replied, trying to sound reassuring. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Emma's heart skipped a beat as she opened it to find two police officers standing there. "Are you Emma?" one of them asked. "Yes, that's me." "What's happened?" she replied, her voice trembling. "Ryan called us. He's safe, but there are men looking for him. We need to ensure your safety as well. Can we come in?" the officer requested. Emma's heart raced as she stepped aside, letting them in. "Is he okay?" "Where is he?" "He's with us, and we have officers looking for the men." "You're both in good hands," the officer assured her. Relief washed over Emma as she turned to Ethan. "It's going to be okay, buddy. Ryan's safe. Will we see him again?" Ethan asked, his innocent eyes wide with hope. "Soon," she replied, kneeling to hug him tightly. Meanwhile, Ryan was pacing back and forth beside the police car, anxious for news. Just then, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Emma. "The police are here. They told me you're safe. Is it true?" Ryan quickly typed back, "Yes, I'm okay. I'm so relieved you're safe. I'll be there as soon as I can." A short while later, a police officer approached him. "We're ready to take you to Emma now." Ryan's heart soared at the thought of seeing her again. As they drove to Frank's cabin, he couldn't help but think of everything they had lost and what they might gain now. When they arrived, Ryan rushed inside. Emma stood there, looking as beautiful as he remembered, and their eyes locked. "Ryan," she exclaimed, rushing into his arms. "I was so worried about you," he murmured, holding her tightly. "I'm okay. Ethan's okay too," she said, pulling back to look into his eyes. "Where is he?" Ryan asked, looking around. "Right here," Ethan exclaimed, running into the room, his face lighting up when he saw Ryan. "Dad!" he shouted, leaping into Ryan's arms. Ryan felt a wave of emotion wash over him. "I missed you, buddy." As the three of them embraced, the past seemed to fade away. The pain, the betrayal, the loss, all of it felt like a distant memory. They had survived against all odds, and now they had a chance to rebuild their lives together. "I can't believe we're finally together again," Emma whispered, tears of joy in her eyes. "Neither can I," Ryan replied, determination filling his voice. "And this time I won't let you go." As the rain began to fall outside, it felt like a cleansing, washing away the past. In that moment, they knew they had a long road ahead, but together, they could face anything. The themes of love, betrayal, forgiveness, and redemption echoed in their hearts, guiding them toward a brighter future filled with hope and happiness.